Call to order the June 6, 2016 Currituck County Board of Commissioners meeting. Just prior to the meeting at 4 p.m., we had a discussion and a work session on the possible amendments to discharge of firearms ordinance codified in Currituck County's Code of Ordinances. At this time, I will call for Susan Fitch-Slater, Sharon United Methodist Church, to lead us in invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's all stand.
Let us pray. Father God, we give you thanks and praise for the gift of this day. We thank you, Father, for the privilege of being able to gather. Your word says, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. And your word also says that no one in heaven or on earth is put into a position of power or authority without your approval. So we stand here this day thanking you for these men and women who you have chosen to be leaders in our community. And we ask your blessings upon them. We ask for wisdom and discernment. We ask for faith and courage. We pray for us as members of this county and this community that we would have boldness, that we would have faith, and that we would be courageous. Father, keep your hand stretched out over us, that we might be stewards of all that you have given to us, and that we might receive a legacy of faith, yet build a strong foundation for those who come after us. Make us stewards, Lord, of all that we've received in your holy name. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. All right, do we have any changes to our agenda? If not, I will seek a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and
Commissioner, were we going to make one change to add appointment to an additional advisory board tonight?
I'm sorry. Yeah, if we need to do that, I didn't think about that. I would like to add on the, let's see, on board appointments.
You can make it just number 5, I guess, under B.
Yeah, okay. Make a 5B appointment for District 1 Senior Citizens Advisory.
I'll second that.
okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Our first and only item under public hearings is public hearing and possible action on annual budget for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2017. With that, I'll open the hearing. And Mr. Scanlon, will this be yours?
Well, Mr. Chairman, at your last meeting, I presented the budget. It has been online and publicly available since that meeting for inspection. My office has not received any calls or any questions regarding the budget. The only difference you'll see from the budget that is in front of you tonight compared to the one I presented, there was some consultation with the Sheriff's Department about adding an IT position within the Sheriff's Department, and that's the only modification you see from when the budget was presented. And other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that the public or the board might have. Any questions from the board?
I'd like some clarification. I read in the paper that our budget was increasing like 11-point-some%, and I know that was an editing mistake. Could you correct that for the general public?
Yes, sir. In fact, I've had an opportunity to talk to the press about that, the local paper. Not sure exactly where the numbers came from or one particular number in there, but I think the headline showed that we had an 11-something% increase in our budget. That is unfortunately incorrect. The budget increase, the total budget increase is about 2.7% in its entirety. And so that was discussed with the media, and I believe a a correction or modification was reported, but the actual increase is 2.7.
Good, yeah, I know when I read that, I was thinking 11% increase in our budget, but we're still revenue neutral. I mean, I was sitting there going, how can you, yeah, how can you do that? But good, thank you for clarifying that. All right, do we have any questions relative to the adoption of this budget moving forward? I'm seeing here that during the public hearing, we have nobody signed up. So, with that, hearing no questions,
Mr.
close the
Chairman,
public, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, is the public hearing open?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I opened the public hearing immediately upon reading the item. I'm now closing it. We have nobody signed up, and I will ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair, let me just, before we make the motion, I do want to make a comment. We are missing, one of our commissioners tonight, Commissioner Mike Hall. He asked me to make a statement for him in his absence. We spoke on the phone. He wanted me to express to the citizens out there and the rest of the board that he had reviewed the budget, and he was fine with it as being presented with the adjustment that had the manager had discussed with us earlier. So I just told him I would relay that message to the board and the citizens out there for him. Thank you.
He also shared the same sentiment to me that he was fine with the budget, and if he was here tonight, he would have voted for it.
Very good, very good. All right. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion for approval for adoption of the budget year end June 30th, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none in opposition, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Under old business, Moyock Crossing, PB 13-17, request to consider modification of condition for preliminary plat extension. To that will be Ms. Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's before you tonight is a request to amend an extension that was granted for a conditional use permit preliminary plat for Moyock Crossing. The extension was granted on at your April 18th meeting of this year, and the original conditional use permit was granted in April 2014. I believe the applicant is here tonight to address the board with any of concerns that you all might have. So if he would like to come up and speak and explain what the request is for.
Thank you. And David, is it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, hi.
I'm remiss. I cannot pronounce your last name.
Okay.
For the record,
Took
would
me
you?
a while too. David Gianniscoli. I'm one of the partners in G's Group. And
And your address, please.
my address is 600 Lindhaven Parkway, Virginia Beach, Virginia. I am one of the partners in Moyock Crossing, and at our last time we met, we were discussing the main sewer line that would run up Shingle Landing Road, and we have done some engineering on that and have determined that that route is extremely expensive and would not benefit any other or any citizens of the county because of how deep and how inaccessible it would be. So we are asking the board and the commissioners if they would consider allowing us to use the line that was run towards 168 underneath the railroad.
Okay. Mr. Scanlon.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe what we were attempting to accomplish under the, was you or me, was trying to extend the wastewater force main for this subdivision in such a fashion that it would provide a public benefit. That we have been approached by some businesses within that area, even the school system, to determine whether we could also connect to that force main. After meeting with the engineers for the G's Group, I've talked to the county engineer, and we would agree with them the method that they would have to use with trying to bore under the creek, with the houses being so close to that road. It would require, it's not there for them to be able to open cut, so it would be a boring operation. Unfortunately, it is expensive for the contractor, but we were hoping that it would provide a community benefit to the businesses in that area and possibly the elementary school. We agree that the nature of that install would not provide a benefit to the school or the county, to the point where we've already extended a line to the fire department, and if the school ever needed to connect, we would actually extend the line that we already have to that school. So with the best of intentions, that condition really does not create a public benefit. It just adds additional costs, and so we actually would agree with the contractor that there's not the public benefit that we had anticipated with that condition.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I also spoke with the county manager and staff, and I actually would concur with them and will make a motion that we allow the modification.
And I'll second that.
Well, before we get there, I have one question of the applicant. My main confusion when this came up a couple of meetings back were comments that were made relative to staff providing direction that a specific route was to be used. And has there been some conversation now between?
Yes, we clarified that. They never recommended any specific direction. They were relying on what we showed them. So that
Okay.
was not staff recommending anything. It was us saying this is the direction we would like to go, and they did not recommend any direction.
Okay.
Second Mr. O'Neill's motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, in opposition, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you.
All right, moving forward to new business. Under A, resolution of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners establishing an historic boat and building advisory board. Will this be Mr.
I can present that.
McCree?
Mr. Chairman, this matter arises from, I guess, the county now operating the Wellhead Club grounds and facility, and as part of the county taking over the management of that operation, the county also received a number of historic boats that had been collected over a period of time by the Wellhead Preservation Trust. Part of the effort now is to create a facility in which these boats may be maintained, stored, interpreted for the public's benefit, to understand the waterfowl heritage and the importance of these boats in Currituck's history. As part of that, the Wellhead Preservation Trust was going forward with a committee that had been established to help the county with the preservation of these boats, and in particular with regard to the construction of a building and facility and its design to house the boats on the Wellhead property grounds. The Wellhead Preservation Trust Board recently voted to dissolve as a corporate entity, feeling that its mission now had been completed, but still wants to maintain active involvement and engagement with regard to the historic boat collection, the interpretation and restoration of those boats, and the construction of this facility. Therefore, it's been proposed that by resolution this board create an advisory board that will do just that. It will be a 7-member advisory board comprised by appointees by this body who will have no legislative powers of their own, as no advisory board does, but will be charged with a duty and responsibility as set forth in the resolution to investigate, study, and make recommendations to this body pertaining to the repair, renovation, care, and maintenance of the county's working boat collection and the creation, construction, enlargement, and maintenance of a facility for their appropriate display, storage, and interpretation. This resolution further will provide that the advisory board and its authority will automatically dissolve upon the completion of the facility to display and interpret this historic boat collection. But obviously, at some future board, if it felt a need for this board to continue on in some fashion, could alter that dissolution provision. So this resolution is commended to you for your consideration.
Mr. McCree, question. Will this not save some money as well by, as it is now, the way the setup is with the trust board, they still have to do an annual audit, which costs them money, and a bunch of other stuff that's still costs associated with how they're operating, and won't those savings be realized now by doing this?
Certainly, the trust was seeing that there was not a regular source of revenue now coming into it for it to really do anything in furtherance of its new mission, which it had adopted relative to these boats and the construction of a facility for their display and interpretation, and also recognize that there were going to be ongoing costs of a corporate entity to continue to exist, an annual audit, any other kind of professional fees that might be necessary for the regular function of a nonprofit corporate entity. And so based upon that, made a determination that it was in the best interest of the corporation and what its current assets are to dissolve and allow those assets as provided for in its articles of incorporation to be dispersed to Currituck County for public historical education and purposes.
But there'll be some savings realized along with that. Yeah. And the second point, I guess, as I understand it, this was initiated and brought forward by some of the older members that's been on the trust. Is that not correct?
Yes, it was, and it was a unanimous decision by the trust board to dissolve the corporation.
Thank you.
Just to kind of add to Commissioner Idlet's question, yes, there's not only the audit, which is mandatory for a 501c3 to be conducted annually, also there was insurance costs and other additional costs. That notwithstanding, in the last audit that they had, and I'm going to ask the county manager to speak to this certainly more eloquently than I, in the audit, they too noticed and made I will ask the county manager to explain in the audit there, I was going to say finding, but it wasn't a finding. It was and that's why I wanted you to speak to it.
It was part of the disclosure in financial terms of art. The phrase is going concern, and one of the things that among the many things that an audit does is an auditor will evaluate the entity that it's auditing to assess whether there's any concerns, on the auditor's opinion, of that business to continue existence into the future. They raised that concern in the last audit of the trust because, as the attorney just mentioned, there was no source of revenue to come in. As Commissioner Idlet had mentioned, they had ongoing cost with no revenue. And so the auditor did, in the notes, put a disclosure in there that although they weren't raising it at this time, that it was on the horizon. It was a concern that they were looking at of the trust's ability to continue to exist financially into the future years. And so that was footnote disclosured in the last audit.
And I think one other thing for clarification purposes, any of the unencumbered funds that were maintained by the Wellhead Preservation Trust were earmarked by this board in a previous action for the purpose of constructing this boathouse. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, any further discussion or questions?
We need a motion.
Need a motion.
Make a motion that we adopt the resolution as Mr. McCree has outlined, presented.
We have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I assume at the next meeting we'll appoint the membership.
We will bring that to you. There actually is one that when the trust was more proactively involved, they actually had the committee formed already. The committee has had at least one meeting, and so we will bring to you now that you appear to be going to vote for this, we'll bring those names to you You certainly aren't beheld to them, but so that you understand, there is a committee that's met at least once already on this issue under the direction of the trust. We're moving that responsibility and authority over now to the Board of Commissioners.
One of the things to your question, Paul, is we had several members on there that were getting ready to time off that had tremendous historical knowledge relative to the boats. I think certainly Mr. Travis Morris and Mr. Carl Ross and another individual who is Mike Doxey. And I think just going forward, when we do go to the point of selecting a board, I would recommend that, and they're on there now, but I would recommend that we continue them just because of the tremendous amount of historical and anecdotal knowledge they bring to the table.
I certainly agree with that. I'm just, the reason I'm asking is there's some other members that can fill in the blanks that have a tremendous historical knowledge of the boats as well, that we need to make this focused on the boats, the
I
people
agree.
we appoint.
I agree.
Need some business sense on there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anyhow,
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none in opposition, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, under item B, new business, board appointments. ABC Board designation of chairman by Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that this particular board requires the Board of Commissioners to actually appoint the chairman
That is
of
correct.
the ABC Board by general statute. Is that not correct?
That is correct. General statutes provide that the governing board of the county shall appoint the chair of the ABC board.
who's the members? I don't know all the members.
Well, I'm going to make a motion we appoint Commissioner Griggs as chairman.
I second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? All right, hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Under board appointments, initial appointments to the Ocean Sands North Crown Point Service District for Watershed Improvement and Drainage Advisory Board. Mr. Scanlon, can you give us some guidance on this?
At a previous meeting, you created the district to explore stormwater solutions for the district. What you have in front of you tonight is a slate of individuals who have expressed an interest to serve as the advisory board members to that district. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the majority, if not all of these names, are the names of the individuals that were on the community committee that started the effort and did the preliminary legwork to explore engineering solutions and to support a recommendation for the creation of a district. And you have those names in your package. I will point out, I think there was you got a separate email from Coastland requesting either representation, killing the district, or all the above. But you will notice that in the list that you have from in front of you, there is a Coastland representative that's on that list.
I see that. Is that Mr. Hill?
Mr. Chairman,
sir.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we appoint Terry Anderson, Jerry Adams, Al Marzetti, Linda Grzinski, Barbara Mazzetti, Ed Pence, and Braxton Hill to the Ocean Sand North Crown Point Service District for Watershed Improvement and Drainage Advisory Board.
Are they all the names that was there? I can't get to it.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's on page.
I can't get to it.
Here. Just scroll up.
If that's all that's there, well, then so be it. But I mean,
I'll second that.
Yeah, this was there. All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none in opposition, motion passes unanimously. Under new business, item 3, appointment to Fire and EMS Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to table that or continue that until the next meeting.
Second.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table item 3. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none in opposition, motion passes unanimously. 4 is Game Commission. I believe I have an appointment to that board, and I'm going to appoint Jason Belangi. He's from my district, and I'm going to appoint him, or recommend that he be appointed, nominate him as appointed to that board.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, we got another one for that
Do we?
same board. Can we do them together?
We do. I have one more individual I need to speak with before I'm ready for that appointment.
So you request that be tabled?
Yes, please.
Okay, so then I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none in opposition. Make note that we have a table for the second for the Game Commission. All right, under consent agenda, we're,
Well, 5.
Number 5.
We added.
oh, I'm sorry about that. All right, under same board appointments, we've added a board appointment for,
Yeah, the lady who is long-standing and served as the liaison for the senior board at Knights Island has resigned, and another one just jumped up and said she would like to serve, and I said, good. And that would be Miss Cynthia Scott. Most of y'all know her husband, Cliff and Cindy. And, Cindy is pretty active out there, and she said that she would love to do it, so I would like to nominate Cindy Scott to fill the bill.
And I will overwhelmingly second that motion.
okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, opposition, motion passes unanimously. Thank you for catching that.
Yeah.
All right, consent agenda.
Motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have on the consent agenda a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Commissioners' report. I will start with Commissioner Beaumont.
Nothing this week.
Commissioner Ivan.
Don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Not a thing.
Commissioner Payment.
First of all, I just want to, I know we have high school students graduating this week on Friday, I believe, and just want to congratulate all our graduating seniors and wish them well in their next endeavor in life, whatever that may be. And secondly, I would like to bring up discussions with the commissioners regarding our meeting times. I know the board has passed a 5 o'clock meeting time, and I know at that time we had discussed that we would look at that, and if we felt an adjustment needs to be made, that we would consider that as a board. I would like to ask the board if they have any reasons or would think about reconsidering possibly moving it to a 6 o'clock time frame. Just from some of the comments I've heard with some of the working folks out there trying to get here, I've heard a lot of comments that 6 o'clock would be much better for them than 5 that do get off at 5. And I don't know if there's any other thoughts among the commissioners regarding that, but I just think 6 o'clock, in my opinion, would probably help some more individuals out there.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes, sir.
would like to concur with Commissioner Payment that when it was changed to 5 o'clock, it was stated that, after some period of time, we'd go back and revisit it. And I know at the time it was tossed about 5:30, or 6, and it was settled at 5 o'clock. But I also concur and think that 6 o'clock is probably going to be a more workable time for everyone involved, and I would concur with his comments.
I know Commissioner Payment spoke with me about this, and I too would concur. The only times that I'm not really in favor of having the meeting, it would be from 12 midnight to about 6 in the morning. Any other time, I mean, I'll do it. I mean, if the board votes to do that, I'll be here, but I just soon, so it doesn't make any difference to me, and so I too would concur.
That being said, I believe that if we make a motion on this, do we not have to wait?
Yeah, your meeting times is codified in your code of ordinances under the rules and regulations of the Board of Commissioners, so it will take an official action. We can schedule something at your next agenda to have that item brought before you. And I guess if it's unanimously supported that night, we can make it as effective as early as your first meeting in July.
Yeah, do I need to make a motion for that tonight, or do we just have an agreement for resolution?
From the head nodding I see, I think
Okay, we're
everybody's in
okay with
agreement
that.
to put
Okay,
that on
everybody's
the
on-
agenda.
okay, good.
So we'll
All
put that
right,
on your agenda for your next meeting.
I've not nodded any head. I'm certainly, as I said back before, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, that's what I'd like to vote for.
Okay.
Nobody has an excuse.
Okay.
They can be here.
Well, I guess that being said, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
All righty, well, based on a consensus then, I would ask the county manager to have that for the board at our next meeting then.
Yes, sir.
To move forward. Commissioner Gilbert.
Couple things. I want to thank everybody that participated on Saturday with the Currituck Kids fundraiser. We had a great turnout, and it's just exciting to see how the community just steps up to the plate to help the children in our county. With that, go ahead and expand on graduation. Looking forward to seeing the Currituck High School graduates on Friday evening. And with that being said, school is coming to an end for the school year. And I had the opportunity to speak with Angela Rodriguez, who is with our nutrition program with the school system. And we had a very long discussion about the summer, Kids Eat Free this summer. We have programs in the county where kids at reduced or free lunches can still continue to have those lunches served. And we've got a couple locations, and I told her that I would get that out here tonight. But the summer nutrition program begins June 13th and goes through August 26th, and that's Monday through Friday. There are 3 locations that children 18 and under can pick up a free lunch, breakfast and lunch, and it's expanded with the reading program in Barco. But the Currituck Parks and Recreation outside the concession stand, the site remains open for the full 11 weeks, and breakfast is served from 9 until 10 a.m. Lunch is served from 12 to 1:30 p.m. At Griggs Elementary Cafeteria, the site remains open 11 weeks, but it is pending participation, but it is guaranteed for the first 6 weeks. And breakfast is from 9 until 10 a.m. Lunch is served from 12:30 to 1:30. And I am excited to announce that there is a new location this year at Knott's Island Cafeteria. And this site will remain open for the 11 weeks pending participation, but guaranteed the first 6 weeks. And that, again, breakfast served from 9 until 10 a.m. Lunch is served from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m.
The first how many kids?
It's for the first 11 weeks from June the 13th through August 26th. It's 11-week program while the children are out of school, and it's for reduced lunch and those students that were qualified for free lunches. I do want to say that there isn't a location in the Moyock area because the participation and applicants is very low. So if there are applicants in the Moyock area, please contact the nutrition program. And Angela Rodriguez, her telephone number is 252-232-2223, extension 1024. Or you can also go onto the website and apply for that program. But I just think that this is just an exceptional program. This is the 3rd summer that it's been running, and we have, the need for children to eat Monday through Friday. We have the backpack for kids during the school year, so this is just an exceptional opportunity for the summer program. So I encourage any and everyone that's interested in that to do so. One other thing, we have a program with Habitat with Humanity that is out right now, and there's a 2-week window. It's just open today. That if you know persons that can't afford rent, would like to be a homeowner, there's a program through Social Services for the Habitat for Humanity, but applications have to be in within the next 2 weeks. So you do need to contact Social Services within the next 2 weeks to get your name on an application and to apply for a Habitat for Humanity home. And the Moyock Women's is one of the that's one of our projects this year. And those of you that know me, I am not very good in construction or finished work, but I can do yard work or something. But again, another program that is outreaching in the community that I would encourage those in need to please get your applications in as soon as possible.
Thank you. Commissioner Beaumont.
Yeah, Mr. Scanlon. I spoke today with the postmistress at Shawborough's post office, and I've only been going there for 20-something years. Evidently, that's a passing zone, and has created several very dangerous events or potentially dangerous events here recently. If we could have DOT please look at that as to what sane reason would that be a passing zone. That's all.
Okay. All righty. And I have nothing to add under
What,
Commissioner.
Mr. O'Neill?
Oh, did I miss him?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
I think I got everybody. I certainly wouldn't want to pass up Paul.
I thought he had been missed
No.
such a long time ago.
All right. The next item will be the county manager's report.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right. Last item that we have in the regularly scheduled meeting is public comment. I do not have anybody signed up. Is there anyone here that would like to come forward during this time and speak? All right, I don't see anybody. So, with
Mr.
that,
Chairman, I did forget one thing, very briefly.
see, you were on to something.
Huh?
You were on to something.
I knew it.
Since
see it in
we
his eyes.
briefly discussed about the voting districts several meetings ago, I've been contacted by several people in Lower Currituck and different areas in the county asking, are we going to host any meetings in communities to carry this discussion further? As I said before, this is something the community needs to decide, not the commissioners. But I've looked at the districts, and they're way out of proportion. Even if you don't make a change into how you vote, the districts are way out of proportion, and needs to be a discussion about that in the community, regardless of how it turns out. And I think that the manager and staff at some point needs to schedule some community meetings in different parts of the, I guess it would be the manager staff. It doesn't need to be the elected officials. It needs to be staff to just go out and see what people are saying and what they have to say. So I've just asked if the board concurs to allow staff start making plans to hold those meetings.
I totally agree. I think it's a good idea. I've had numerous calls myself wanting to know, from folks wanting to know how they could get involved and what they could do, and I told them right now something there I really don't know, but there's certainly some activity steering about it, and more to come. So I agree.
And as do I, but just for clarification, when you said the different districts were out of you're
Population
speaking-
as they exist today,
Very good. All right.
which
I
is
just-
another different issue, but just
I
the whole
understand.
thing needs to be looked at.
I just wanted to get that out there. All right. So what do we need to do then?
I guess the staff would need to set up community meetings, or Mr. McCree would need to do some research and put something together to where you could start having community meetings.
Would that be something that would necessarily need to be brought before the board, or can that be initiated tonight based on
Well, I think
general
the board
consensus?
can direct the staff to start the process and start setting up community meetings,
All righty.
which is what I would ask that we do tonight.
That's exactly what happened the last time it was looked at. Is the county took it on and went to every precinct, every district, every area in the county, and talked about it.
And you wound up with 7 commissioners instead of 5.
Wound up with 7, and
Yeah. No, I don't think that's part of the mix.
the only thing that it wasn't talked about at that time was the district voting deal, and that I remember. I don't believe it was,
It was not.
but it's,
All right. All right, with that then, I guess, or no, I don't guess, the board's direction is to start moving forward with that process. All right. I think that concludes this board's meeting tonight. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is closed. I will now call to order the special meeting for the Tourism Development Authority. This is a public hearing and possible action on Tourism Development Authority budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017. With that, I'll open the public hearing, and this, Ms. Kugler,
Good evening.
Welcoming you to the board.
we're just welcoming you to the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
at your previous meeting, I also presented the budget for next year for the Tourism Development Authority. There has been no changes in that budget from the one that's presented to you that night to tonight. Again, this budget was put out for public inspection. I've not received any comments, questions, or inquiries on this budget, but I'd be happy to answer any questions the commissioners might have or the community, and it does require a public hearing.
Which I opened at the
Yes.
beginning of this. Okay. Any board questions? Any board discussion?
Ms. Kugler, have you had any comments, anything?
Zahn, not at this time. I feel pretty comfortable with it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that,
One second, please. We have the public hearing. I had the public hearing
sorry.
sign-up sheet, and I do not have anybody signed up for the public hearing for the Tourism Development Authority annual budget for fiscal year 2016-2017. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to that? All right. I will close the public hearing, and is there further questions or discussion by the board? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt the Tourism Development Authority budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Next item is Tourism Development Authority budget amendments.
Mr. Chairman, you actually have 2 tonight. The first one, as was previously reported to you, we received a 90% grant to do the Southern Parallel Taxiway. The bids we got in was significantly less than the amount of the 90% grant funding. So the county requested if we could use the residual funds to put apron space out that we were losing because of the expansion of the taxiway. It's been about a year, but we finally got the letter that has authorized us to go ahead and use the 90% money. It does require a 10% local match, and so the first budget amendment is to appropriate $6,769 as the local match, or the balance of the required local match, to be able to use those funds. The second one is we are basically to the end of the fiscal year, and the department has asked to move monies around within the budget between line items just to meet the year-end expenses. It is not an expansion or a change in the budget. It's just moving money around amongst line items.
so moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The only discussion I would have is that's remarkable that we had a bid that came in significantly less. I think that's remarkable, but it's a good thing.
You'll
It's a good thing.
probably never be able to say that twice in your
No.
lifetime.
No, and that's why I'm saying it now. All right, we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
One other thing, while we're talking about, we've talked a lot about whalehead and tourism. I would like for the board to have a work session on what it actually would take to get the whalehead channel dredged. I just cannot, for the life of me, fathom the federal government not allowing us to dredge that boat basin. It's obvious the boat basin was there because there was a channel, and we can go through all that or whatever, but I would like for the staff to be instructed to bring to us the cost, the professionals, or whatever it would take to take that project on once and for all and quit talking about it and reach some finality.
Commissioner O'Neill, I would even take it one step forward, or one step further, if possible. I'd like to have someone from the Army Corps of Engineers come before us and explain why it can't be done, or why it's as difficult it's been. I know they address.
They told Congressman Jones we're not coming.
Yeah,
Didn't he, Vance? Didn't he?
Well, the congressman said that the head of the Corps would meet with us, and you saw who come and met with us. It certainly wasn't the head of the Corps.
That's correct.
This issue goes back somewhat. Commissioner, is it 10 years? It goes back years. My understanding is that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if the Army Corps of Engineers had become, intractable, didn't we decide we would have to go to Congress and try to get some relief from this? And has there not been some sort of discussions with Senator Burr?
We've been to the House of Representatives. We've been to everybody but Obama, for God's sake.
Well, then maybe we need to talk to...
Dredging the channel will require an Army Corps permit. They have, and we've been working on this for probably 25 years plus. The Army Corps, as you said, has taken a very firm position, and every time we've gone with an attempt for permit, they have denied it. We have talked to Congressman Jones. We have talked to Senator Burr. We talked to Senator Hagan. We have, I guess, not approached Senator Tillis yet as our new senator, but we have been to our federal delegation.
What was the upshot from all those? The resolution, bottom line?
Just what he just told you. We require a permit from the Corps
We are
of
sitting
Engineers.
here without a permit and a request to have a work session to discuss how we can have a permit. So
I think the Corps of Engineers has said, well, you've got to apply before you get a permit.
Yeah, if I could clarify, have we ever actually applied for a permit, or have we just said, what if we file for a permit?
That's the
We
point.
applied for a permit and it was denied.
One time.
One time. We applied for a permit and we were in the process of working through the permit when the channel was kicked, and that ended that application process. And so we have gone through the process one time completely. We've got probably 2/3 through the process the second time. And in both times, Army Corps told us they would not. We started a third effort, and what we did is we had a pre-submittal meeting where we went down and met not only with the Army Corps, but we met with all the agencies that would be involved.
And who did we carry with us that time? The gentleman who had just retired?
Yeah, we actually assembled a team of the retired director of CAMA was on our team.
That's right.
And a local environmental engineer. We went down there and had a pre-submittal meeting. At that time, the Army Corps' position was, we've told you no twice, why are you back? And told us very strongly that they would not support another application, and that's when we started engaging our federal delegation.
And maybe maybe in my recollection is a little off. I think, if I remember correctly, in that room that day, they told us that you had to rule out any and every other opportunity to have a deep water channel going to the boat docks or this or that and the other before they would ever consider anything
part
else.
of any environmental permit that you apply for requires an alternative analysis where we have to go look at what are the other possible solutions, and you've got to do a certain degree of investigation of those and rule them in or out. And what the Army Corps at that meeting was saying is they did not feel like perhaps we'd explored all the different opportunities that might exist in the Corolla area for an alternative public access to the sound so that you would not need the channel. But one of the big purposes of doing the channel is we've got a boat ramp there and we've got the boat basin. We're trying to specifically get to public property.
That was approved by
CAMA. Now, what Army Corps has hinted at is they would work with the county for a alternative location, but it would not be a dredging into the basin. It would be more of dredging and putting in piers and dockage so that you could, by boat, access the property, but you could not access the boat basin.
boat basin.
The Army Corps has taken the position that that area is essential fish habitat, and therefore they will not permit it. And now it's probably expired now, but for 5 years it was under a federal order, a mitigation order, because of the kicking. And they said they certainly would not give a permit to dredge what was under a federal order to be mitigated.
Yeah, I'm going to cut to the chase. It's punishment for what happened to the
That's right.
the channel being kicked out.
Right.
And if we're willing to sit back here and allow that punishment to happen without making, I'm not running again, so I can say what I want to. If we're willing to sit back here and allow that punishment to just be something under the current and we just accept it, then shame on us. It needs to be brought out in the public as to why we can't get that channel done. There are proven channels all over this daggone state, and I forwarded y'all a copy of the Senate's budget where they're putting money in to dredge channels down in Manio this year where channels do not exist. This is a channel that does exist, and if the board does not want to do it, I will vehemently object to us just sitting here not doing it. But for me, I want to try it again.
I totally agree with you, Mr. O'Neill, 100%. And the only thing that I say is this time, if we go for it and we get started down that path, let's continue down the path. Let's don't get part of the way down it and stop. Let's get a team assembled and let's turn the tailgate loose. Let the dogs
Who
on.
do we have to donate to?
Well, to
Drop the tailgate.
That's right.
to Commissioner O'Neill's point, we have a boat basin. We had an established channel that had been there for decades. It's even got a channel marker out there. We didn't put that out there. And to tell us that we have to look for alternative places when we've got one there is, I think, an inordinate burden that they're placing on us to pay for what we've already got, in the sense we have the boat basin there, we have the channel, we have the ramp, and they're saying, well, we need to go out and try to find some other place that has none of that and to construct it as a viable alternative to what we have. No wonder the federal government's $20 trillion in debt. That makes sense.
It's what they call, quote unquote, naturalized again. Same thing as they talked about the roads and the ditches and stuff all up and down that beach everywhere. It's naturalized. There was no maintenance done.
We have photographs in the wintertime when the tide goes out. It looks like the Sahara Desert out there. Yeah. There is no SAVs, subaquatic vegetation, in the wintertime. It looks like the Sahara Desert out there, just the whitest, prettiest sand with not a lick of vegetation on it. And it's just a false argument they're using against us.
Well, I think the board concurs. I think the board ardently concurs with Commissioner O'Neill's recommendation that we initiate the process again and do it with a persistence that
At least that.
I was going to reference Shawshank Redemption, where the guy kept writing a letter every week until he got his library. Well, let's keep doing the application process, because this is a natural resource that we have that services a $22 million piece of property that we have for tourism, and it's unacceptable.
We got people on this mainland that can't even access their own beaches because of traffic. At least if they could get in their boats and go over to the Outer Banks, they could access their own beaches.
I agree. Okay. All right.
And in the channel, it used to be good swimming in that channel, because I've swam in it many a time.
He is. All right. I think, Mr. Scanlon, you have your direction with that.
I do.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn the special meeting for Tourism Development Authority.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I will now open the special meeting for the Ocean Sands Water and Sewer District Board. This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing, and it's for public hearing and possible action on the Ocean Sands Water and District Water and, let me start over, Ocean Sands Water and Sewer District budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017. With that,
Mr. Chairman, just like the other two, at your previous meetings, the budget for next year for the Ocean Sands Water and Sewer District was presented to the board. Since its presentation has been publicly available, I have not had any questions or inquiries regarding that budget, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you or the public might have.
any questions?
No inquiries.
Well, you've
got a letter
you've
from
got
Ocean
something on
Sands.
your place. I don't know if anybody has signed up, that there's someone who's actually going to present this to the board or not, but
We have a public hearing for this. I have one name. It's Jeannie Marcinko?
I assume she's going to present whatever this is.
All right, name and address, please.
Sure. Ginny Marcinko, Coastline Corporation, 694 Ocean Trail. I am requesting that the statement presented by Coastline Corporation be admitted to the records and have questions addressed in writing to Coastline Corporation. Unless y'all want me to read it to you, or if I have no other comments.
Does the county believe it's necessary to read this into the record, or can we accept it as proffered?
You can just accept it as it is.
All right, I'll move that we accept this as proffered, or direct that we
okay,
accept
thank
it as
you.
proffered. And did you say you had another?
No, that was it.
That was it? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I don't see anyone else signed up for the public hearing for this matter. With that, I will close the public hearing and ask for board deliberations. Do we need a motion to go forward with the budget?
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item under special meeting for Ocean Sands Water and Sewer District Board is the Ocean Sands Water and Sewer District budget amendments. Mr. Scanlon.
Mr. Chairman, you have two budget amendments for the Ocean Sands Water and Sewer District. Much like we discussed with the TDA, the first budget amendment is it's a year-end adjustment of line items. It's moving money around line items without increasing or decreasing the overall budget. The second budget amendment is the district had come in front of the board at a previous year and asked for a 5-cent tax assessment to start creating a sinking fund for the upgrade of the wastewater plant. The second budget amendment you have is physically moving this year's proceeds of the 5-cent tax increase from the operational budget into the construction budget to support that effort. And I'll be happy to answer questions you might have.
Any questions? All right. Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion for the Ocean Sands Water Sewer District budget amendments as presented.
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I will now ask for a motion to adjourn the special meeting of the Ocean Sands Water and Sewer District Board.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Good evening. I think that concludes our business tonight. Have a safe trip home.